It's time for News You Need. News You Need is a look at current events and how they affect the college community and beyond. And now here's the host of News You Need, Dr. Ed Simpson.
Hey. Hey, we need to update that. That's not right. It's not Ed Simpson. This is actually Brent Hale. So I am usually the co-host, but Ed is away doing something. I don't actually know what it is, but he's away, so I will be leading the show today. And as usual, we have three excellent guests, but just a little bit, here's the news you need again, right? So the idea here is to be talking about the news, what's going on, and the benefit of doing that is it helps us to kind of keep track of the pulse of what's going on around us, right? So we know kind of what is happening, what we should be concerned about, what we should care about, what we should be doing or not doing, right? And the idea being that informed citizenship is the backbone of how our democracy works. So knowing what's going on is how we make sure we make good choices. But again, I've got three excellent guests with me today, so I'll have each of you introduce yourselves in turn. Tell me just obviously your name, maybe what your major is, and then where you're involved on campus. So maybe we'll start here and work our way around.
Hi, y'all. My name is Otito. I go by Tito. I'm a polymer science and engineering major at Southern Miss. I'm originally from Nigeria. I moved down here 2 years ago. And on campus, I have this video startup, so I just video people's outfits and also meet people with local businesses and ask them their motivation behind what they do.
Oh, that's really interesting. And how's that going?
It's been pretty cool. I like it.
Cool. Awesome.
Hey everyone, my name is Madison Maddox. I am a health sciences major here at the University of Southern Mississippi. I am currently president of LSMAP, Lewis Stokes Mississippi Alliance for Minority Participation. I also serve with SGA as the Community Service Committee and a bunch more.
Excellent. I'm going to ask a few more questions about that in a minute, but let's go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Gia. I am a theater major here at USM, and I am president of Fight Club, which is our stage combat group, as well as a board member of the Theater Honor Society, and I was also a group crew leader these past 2 years. So any freshmen, go group 67.
Excellent. How often are you fighting somebody?
Every Tuesday at 4. Yeah.
That's very exciting. And if people were interested in where this happens.
Of course. So it is over at the Theater and Dance Building in our rehearsal hall. It's towards like kind of the back, kind of whenever you leave to go to Einstein's or somewhere. It's our rehearsal hall. It's really nice. And we're doing swashbuckling this year. So we're doing some single sword. It's a lot of fun. And we just get to play around.
Okay, that's really cool. I don't think we've had a guest yet that talked about doing that. That's fantastic. I'm really interested in that. So tell me a little bit more, right, about this group that you're a part of, that you're running as the president of. Yes. Tell me what are the goals of this group?
So we started off as a STEM-based only organization here in 2022. Under my presidency, I have expanded this organization to an all-major inclusive type of organization. So our goal really is to just get those underrepresented minorities here on campus and just really promote them receiving those bachelor degrees and their research internships and getting those connections to make us further in the community.
So it's kind of partly networking, but also support for students, yes, for success. And what does that look like? So if I'm a student that's interested, what would I be doing?
So we mostly we host workshops, we have seminars, we visit symposiums where we also connect with other LSMAP chapters like LSU, Ole Miss, and all those other universities. We just network and try to bring in together our similarities just to see, how we're feeling, a part of LSMAP on our university and how we can kind of grow as an organization mostly.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's really good. Anything that we can have on campus that helps students succeed is really important. Yes. And getting people connected, right? So it's, so coming from somewhere else even, right? So it's kind of an isolating experience. You show up and here I am and like I got to start networking with new people and stuff. What was that like?
Well, meeting people here, moving from Nigeria, coming down here, it was kind of difficult at first, even though there's like different support systems with clubs like Afro-Caribbean Society and stuff like that, but it was still kind of new for me. And actually, there's an anonymous app on campus called Fizz, and every time I saw people like post up, oh, I don't really have any friends on campus, and it's like 500 different people post that up, and I'm like, why can't you all just be friends with each other? So I actually like started videoing because I realized that we see each other every day, but we don't really know each other. So I wanted people to have a voice and put a voice to the face you see, and maybe that voice sounds friendly to you, and you could walk up to the person and have a conversation. So that has been really like the driving point for why I video people on campus. I really ask people about their outfits as a way to start the conversation, but it's mainly to get people talking and have your voice out there and at least feel heard, because when people post, as different people on my page see it, they get new followers and a way for them to network to other people. So I just wanted to create community, and this like my means.
That's really, really cool. I think that's awesome. And you've got a different type of community where we're hitting each other, but still community nonetheless, right? So that's really, really, really cool. So you all are over here in the School of Media and Communication right now, right? And Dr. Simpson, who normally would run this show, right, he's very much more on the mass communication side of like creating content that goes out for various purposes. I am actually a specialist in just regular communication, like interacting with one another. It's kind of my area of the school. I'm kind of curious talking to you all, because you're talking especially about this kind of like, I'm afraid to meet new people and stuff. Do you think the students are afraid of that? Are they afraid to socialize? Do we not like each other? That's my question.
I think, like my organization, for example, we have a lot of students that are quiet to themselves, you know, not really outgoing. But I try to make them feel like, we're a team. You know what I'm saying? We can talk to one another, and we can, if you're having a hard day, or if you're having trouble with mental health, I'm here for you. You know what I'm saying? But to answer your question, yes, I do feel like the university is kind of divided as far as trying to gain new connections and new friendships.
What do y'all think?
I mean, I'm in the theater department, so we have a lot of outgoing people, but there are still some people who are very quiet and reserved, and it's mainly the freshmen, just because new experiences, But I like to, that's why I'm a good crew leader, because I like to bring people out of their shells. And it's really fun to go through Golden Eagle Welcome Week and just see their development, even just over that week, whether they make a new friend, or like sometimes they'll be like, hey, can I like miss this event because I'm going to hang out with someone I met? And I'm like, yes, go hang out with people. So that's kind of like, I don't know where I'm going with that.
No, yeah,
that's
yeah.
What I got.
So trying to find ways
Yeah.
to get them to connect with one another. Why do you think students are so timid?
I think it's like coming from like the international student point of view, and Southern Miss is becoming like a more and more of an international campus. There's a whole lot more international students. I kind of see a little bit of like a culture clash. People don't really know if what their way of thinking is going to be perceived as like rude to someone else, or they don't want to be judged, in the wrong way. So some people just rather prefer to stay by themselves. Like I said I'm in polymer science and engineering. I'm a researcher here, and I don't really have that many friends in my department, and it's like, because everyone there seems so different from me, and I don't know how they're going to perceive me, if they're going to like my jokes, if I'm going to like their jokes, if I don't know. So I just stay by myself sometimes, and I feel that really like plays a role in why people are like somewhat lonely or timid in college. It's like people are not sure of how the next person is going to perceive them.
Oh, interesting. So that kind of that cautiousness coming from how I'll be received, how people see me. That's something that's really salient right now in the way that students interact with each other. Yeah. That's very, very interesting. That's something that I have studied, something that we look at here is kind of like, how do we break down those boundaries so we can actually talk to one another? So it's not quite so awkward, right? Because we don't want to be able to do that. I think the way that you're doing this, thinking about like just like clothing and stuff, that's great. That's a great, because anyone can talk about that, right?
Exactly.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a little break here so we can go and get some commercials done, and we'll be right back.
Sponsorship comes from American Graphics. Located at 8 Commercial Warehouse Drive in Hattiesburg, American Graphics provides custom screen printing and embroidery. They can be reached by phone at 601-602-2277. And the website is goamericangraphics.com. American Graphics, printing at its finest.
Are you in a hurry? Well, I am. But as a paralyzed veteran, I had to overcome incredible challenges just to regain my independence and return to work. Finding a parking space shouldn't be one of them. Illegally parking in spaces reserved for people with disabilities is not only wrong, it's against the law. So please, think twice before pulling into a reserved parking spot. Even if it's just for a minute, it's 60 seconds too long. This has been a public service announcement from United Spinal Association.
All right, we're back. So I could keep talking about communication and timidness and how students are, because it's just what I do, obviously. But that's not the point of this. We're supposed to be talking about the news. So I'll open this to you all. What are students talking about right now? What sort of news stories, what in the news are they talking about?
Okay, well, in my circle right now and the people I hang out with, because like I said, I'm a researcher, a lot of what we're talking about is internships and how hard it is to find one these days, as well as the funding cuts in research. So I'm fortunate, I do research for MIT, and I get paid to do it, and a lot of my friends have been trying to get like a research internship like the one I have, or like apply for jobs in industry, and it's been so difficult, especially with the removal of like DEI and funding cuts. So that has been like a big conversation, and where do we go from here? Those of us trying to go to graduate school, is there a future for scientists in America? Is what people are thinking right now, and so that's a huge conversation in my circle right now.
Oh my goodness, that is such a good topic, right? So the way that things are going right now with funding and the cutting of funding. So you're interested in going to graduate school, you said.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a PhD.
Okay, let me ask you this. You know what, you gave me the question, but I'm gonna point it back to you. Is there a place for scientists in America today?
Well, I think there is. I think there is. I was reading this article by the Economist, and it's talking about. I think the thing right now with the funding cuts is there's a whole lot of research. I'm gonna be honest. That seems a bit too far away from what society is really facing right now, and that might be the reason for funding cuts. And I feel like there's a future for science as long as we try to attack and solve the most pressing needs. And because of course it is beautiful just to try and satisfy your scientific curiosity, but if all scientists are really bothered about what's going on Mars, then the planet really suffers, and there's no point of funding research that doesn't have anything to do with what we're dealing with in society. So I think there is a future in research, and the funding cuts not really the most pleasant, but at the same time it also helps bring a sense of urgency and focus to what really needs to be done in research, and rather than wasting a lot of funds on things that are not really pressing. And I don't want us to use the word wasting, because all scientific knowledge is beautiful and can be applicable, but at the same time we need more focus into more applied and translational research.
That's interesting. So you're seeing this as kind of a moment where we're shifting.
Yeah.
To say, okay, you know what, maybe our scope has gotten too wide.
Exactly.
And we need to kind of focus back in. So you see this as maybe being a good process that we're going through. It might hurt.
It might hurt. It would have a good impact in the long run if it is adapted properly, but at the same time I think it's slightly a bit too drastic in some areas where funding cuts are being done because certain research is seen as too liberal. I don't really agree with that, but like when we talk about more urgent research, I think that is a good focus to look at it from.
That's interesting. Do either of you have an opinion on that?
Well, I mean, in the arts, we're also kind of getting some cuts, like you were saying, and like usually we go to what's called the Kennedy Center Theater Festival, College Theater Festival, KCACTF, lots of letters, and next year, the 2026 year, we're not going because like because the government controls like the Kennedy Center and stuff like that, so some like funding is a little bit iffy, and then just like some leadership positions have like resigned and stuff like that, so it's just like kind of a tough time for the arts pretty much in general, to go and get that acknowledgement to help further our careers in like the arts and stuff like that.
So when you say we're not going, you mean folks from here at USM?
Yes. Lots of universities have pulled out from the festival, and then we're one of them. So like we're not getting a respondent for our 2 upcoming shows that we have this semester, and then we're not going to the festival at all next year.
That's interesting. So just a complete withdrawal for what exact reason? Because of a lack of funding, or
yes.
Okay.
Just like there's been some major changes in the process of the KCACTF type deal that I'm not super privy to. It's just the email that we got was, hey, we're not going because there's some been upheaval, stuff like that, and it's just better for us to stay home right now, basically.
Yeah, when we think about kind of how universities function, right? So we have, your natural sciences. We have the people that are doing what you're doing, right, over in polymer science. And then you have the arts folks. And outside of the university, I think a lot of people think of those as being in competition with each other, right? So you got like artsy things and you've got sciencey things, and they're not really the same. But universities, one of the beautiful things about how universities function is you have a space where it all is able to kind of come together. And what we are seeing is some inequity in how things are being shaken by changes in funding, and arts are being really, really like severely hit, as well as some particular parts of the natural sciences. When we think about things like epidemiology, for example, that's been hit pretty hard right now.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'm actually in public health right now, which is a great class. Just learning about our health and how we, where we worship, play, live, how it all affects us in our social economic status or whatnot. And like you said, it has impacted us. As far as us going in the future, you know what I'm saying? I'm a senior now, so when I get into the field, it'll be more so challenging to try to tackle these barriers that are put against these different type of economic statuses. So for African Americans, for example, it'll be harder to try to get them to perceive some type of information and actually apply it because of all of these different barriers that are up against us right now. So it's a really hard time for public health professionals right now, but I hope it does change and that we can get back on track.
Yeah, it is tough in the context of public health, and especially in the way that funding seems to be being, I don't want to use the word attacked, but I'm going to use the word attacked.
Yeah.
Because when we think about things like, I want to make sure, so I'm Donald Trump right now, so I've decided that I'm Donald Trump, and I want to cut funding for DEI initiatives. That's like my big thing. Mm-hmm. What is lost in there is the need to research and to really delve into problems like the ones you're talking about, right? There's a reason why research that's focused on black communities, for example, we could go way beyond that, right? That there's some serious legitimate benefits to doing that in order to assist groups of people in this country that need to have more research done.
Yeah.
And to say, well, we're going to axe anything that we see as DEI or race related means that we kind of lose all of that, which is really problematic, I would argue.
Yes.
I don't know what y'all think about that.
Yes.
Well, yes.
Yeah. And like you were saying about how we all tie together, the arts, public health, and polymer science, like it's a team effort. So I do think that this DUI and everything has impacted us tremendously, but I think we're working around what we're learning now, we're trying to kind of work around this barrier, the DEI barrier that we're put up against, and still try to get those like insurance and those healthier eating choices and such like that to be implied. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the DEI and the issue with DEI right now is very important topic because like I'm in polymer science, as I said, and I was a computer science minor, and we're seeing like a new world is taking place with the presence of AI and research which shape the future of the next 20 to 30 years. Right now, we try to make materials we can implant in people's brains and study their emotions. And if you take away DEI, you lose a large amount, a certain a certain portion of the population by race, and then you lose out on a certain viewpoint that would shape research that affects people. And you're talking about brain sensing. You need to know what everybody feels about stuff like this. You need presence of different people and to see, because if a technology is going to affect how everybody lives, then we all should have a voice in how it is created and what kind of technologies are being created. And taking away a certain demographic is very dangerous, especially when this demographic remains in society and will be consumers of whatever you're creating and how it affects them. We don't want 10 years, 20, 30 years from now, we're thinking of plans of how to maybe improve the perception of black people black people's perception with technology. You can change that now. You can involve us. You can keep us in. And I've been in diversity programs. Like I said, I work for MIT. And when people think diversity, a lot of people think we're bringing in people that do not qualify for a position. But some of the most intelligent people I met at MIT were people of color. And it's not that they don't qualify, but how would you know if they don't qualify if you've never given them a chance to even prove themselves? And I feel DEI is very, very important, especially as it gives people who may be fantastic, academically talented, but don't have the resources to show for what they have, and giving them a chance. And it will help in building a more well-rounded technological research base that provides technology that serves everybody to the fullest.
I think that's really smartly said. And you know, when we think about why these programs are set up the way they are, DEI programs inherently are meant to overcome systemic barriers that affect certain people more than others. And we can't, I would argue that it's hard to just say, you know what, we're going to ignore all of that and say the systemic barriers, they can just be. We're going to just allow that to be, right? And this is just going to be a part of life, or just ignore that they could potentially be there. I think it's really dangerous. And I think that's one of the things we're going to start seeing in the coming years as these things get rolled back and pulled back, that inequities are going to get worse. I think that inevitably they'll end up that way, which is, I think, deeply problematic.
Very.
I would argue. And so I'll say, so my PhD is actually in media psychology. And so related to what you were talking about, when you're trying to understand something from a psychological perspective, you're trying to universalize. Like, this is what the human experience is. And it's hard to understand the human experience if you're only looking at certain humans,
Exactly.
right? Who have certain kind of shared perspectives and ways that they've experienced things. And getting a larger swath of the population is how we learn about the things we want to know about humanity in a general sense, right? Arts seek to do that too. How can I pull on the emotions of people regardless of who they are? What do we share as a common experience? Like, that is so important, and we're kind of breaking that down, I would argue, right now. Any thoughts about any of that?
Very true.
Yeah, I think mental health is something that has not been taken seriously, but we are now starting to kind of take seriously. And what I mean by mental health is just how we feel and how we're thinking. How do we connect? You know, oh, I'm feeling some type of way. Oh, you feel some type of way. You know, just gaining that connection and just being there for another person who's having a similar bad day as you. You know, so I really think that is something else that, I know we're not talking about improving on campus, but I also think that is something that could be more so handled in a different way here on campus, as far as promoting how important mental health really is. Because even males don't take it seriously. You know, a lot of people just be like, oh, you're a guy, just handle it, you'll be okay, you know, man up, toughen up. But these males probably experience, I don't know the statistics, but they might experience worse mental health than women do, just for them being males, you know, and just feeling like they need to take it. But yeah.
Well, we know that mental health is not a gender-specific thing. Like we all have to deal with certain issues, some more than others. I mean, there's individual characteristics there, but it's not like women experience this more than men or whatever. Like, that's just not true, right?
Yeah.
And so I think related to all of what we've been kind of chatting about is a breakdown in empathy.
Breakdown in empathy. I think that is what I see is really a big thing right now. And when you think of the laws that are being signed, the bills that are being signed, and it's like, yeah, this might be for the better of people, but you have to think of how people will perceive these things and the worst effects it could have, opposed to your perfect plan. Think of how people would feel and what it could have for the next generation, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. And I feel we're losing empathy. We're really losing empathy at just for money. We're trading empathy for money.
Yes.
And
Oh, totally.
and in time, and I hope we don't have to pay for it in ways that we won't be able to recover from. And we're trading empathy for money, and it isn't really good. And I feel for the future generations, because a lot of them could be confused on where to go. Because like I was thinking of it like when I was in elementary school, like, and it's like they teach us values, but I'm like, those values I was taught, is that really what runs society anymore? Because it's so many things that are wrong, things I knew is wrong, that are really idealized now.
Let's take a pause there. Let's get a couple more commercials in, and we'll be right back.
Sponsorship comes from Signature Magazine, the Pine Belt's original Seen and Be Seen magazine. Since 2006, Signature has been the Hub City source for arts, music, fashion, food, and more. Signature Magazine is published monthly and available at more than 200 locations throughout the Pine Belt. Signature is also available with the free Hub City Spokes app for Apple and Android phones. Signature Magazine, the Pine Belt's Seen and Be Seen magazine.
Regresando a la escuela, sí tenía miedo, porque yo tenía pensamientos que no sabía si iba a poder hacerlo.
A los 47 años, Marco obtuvo su high school diploma.
Nunca es muy tarde para obtenerlo.
Nadie obtiene un diploma solo. Si estás pensando en obtener tu high school diploma, puedes recibir ayuda. Encuentra clases gratis para adultos cerca de ti en completatudiploma.org. Repito, completatudiploma.org. Presentado por la Dollar General Literacy Foundation y el Ad Council.
Okay, we're back again. So we left off talking about empathy and caring for each other, and I think that that's honestly a good place to kind of start to slide out into a couple of other things. All of you have been involved in organizations that are thinking about empathy and connection with one another and getting to know one another and opening up and being together. That's something that we've lost in some ways. I think it's great that all of you are working on things that are connected to that, connecting people together, and as opposed to driving them apart, right? I think that's really, really, really important. So anyway, I just wanted to, here in the last couple of minutes that we have here, bring up a couple of more local things. So first off, how many of you have been to the zoo here in town?
Me.
Okay. 2 of you have been to the zoo. Unfortunately, our beloved jaguar is gone.
What?
I saw
The
that.
jaguar passed away.
Oh.
Yes,
Right.
for those that are listening and cannot see, I'm now holding a copy of The Student Prince, which is published here in the School of Media and Communication. That's amazing. And there's a picture of Maya, the jaguar, who's now gone. I'm sorry, you'll never be able to see her.
R.I.P.
Alas, yeah, R.I.P. indeed. So that's an unfortunate blow to the town of Hattiesburg. Any strong opinions about that?
It's a sad loss.
No, for real. This is my one thing where I'm like, big cats wouldn't attack me if I tried to pet them, right? Like, I feel like I would be friends with them. But I miss her.
They would not be friends with you, I'm sorry.
Oh.
No,
Okay.
they
Well-
they would go for the throat, for sure.
Well,
Maybe not this one. This one was pretty old at this point.
Yeah.
But anyway, another thing. All right, so the old Raising Cane's building. There's something going in there. Do you know what it is?
they said a coffee shop.
Yeah. How excited are you about that?
Not very excited.
Me too.
We have Moe's, we have Starbucks, like we have all these other coffee spots. I saw a lot of people saying Whataburger. They wanted a Church's Chicken. Anything other than a coffee shop for me personally, because Starbucks is just right there. You know,
Mhm.
like it's Starbucks here, and then you just drive down, and it's gonna be another coffee shop. So like, what's that for?
I don't think you can get too many coffee shops in a place.
Oh, so you're on board.
I'm
You're
on
on
board with the
board.
coffee shops thing. Yeah, I'm on board with it because like for some of us are like boycotting Starbucks right now, and yeah, but that I'm not really on strong opinions in that, but like some people are. So I know the coffee shop is good, and definitely not Whataburger. Any other thing else?
Okay,
I live
okay.
in Texas. I don't like Whataburger.
Dude, our Equinox on campus over by the theater building, amazing.
Oh.
It's like one dude working and then like some other dude takes over other days. But Charles, he can make an amazing butterscotch chai.
Ooh.
I need to try that.
Yes,
Gotta
you
try
do.
it.
It's amazing.
That actually sounds
It's-
fantastic.
It's my go-to drink there. It's delicious.
Okay, so that's going to be your recommendation,
Yes.
Equinox Coffee.
Yes.
Okay, where are you all going then? If you've never been there. No strong opinions.
No, I don't know.
Just go where the coffee is.
Yeah.
Go with it.
Honestly, wherever they have coffee, I try. Like, oh, let me try this out and see what it's like.
Okay.
Honestly.
Well, we got one strong opinion then, so I'll have to go check that out for sure.
Same.
Where is that located again?
It's in the Wesley, over by like the Liberal Arts Building and the theater building, over on that side of campus. It's
All
pretty
right.
Yummy.
Fantastic. Well, hey, we're actually just about out of time here. So we're going to wrap things up here. I just want to thank all of the crew involved in the production of this program, whose names I did not write down, but they're all fantastic. I'm also very pleased with the folks who have come to chat with me today. Thank you all for being here. This was a
you for
really
having
good
us.
conversation.
Thank
This was
you.
great.
This
This
was
was really,
great.
really good. And if Dr. Simpson is listening, we'll just keep going without you moving forward. We've made that decision. Anyway, thank you all so much. Thank you, listeners, and we will see you again next week.
Thank y'all. See y'all
Bye.
later.
This has been News You Need with Dr. Ed Simpson. News You Need airs Friday afternoon at 12:30 on Southern Miss Radio.